What's up, everybody? Welcome to Isaac Inspires. All right, this is video one. All right, Ableton 101. We're just gonna go through the ins and outs of Ableton. All right, the quick basics, the two knows, kind of where everything is. We won't get super crazy in here, but as the series progresses, you guys will see more and more about what can happen. All right, so this is video one. Now, if you watch some of the videos later, I may say things like, "Oh, I'll do this video later." I'm doing this one-on-one video after I did some of the videos. All right, so if you hear later, just come back, look through the playlist. It's probably going to be in here. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at a template. This is what happens when you first open Ableton. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look here. So you'll see that when it first comes up, it comes up in session view. Okay, session view is this view here with the vertical clips. And then there's something called arrangement view, which if we go up to here, we got the fries and we got the burger. So the burger menu is arrangement view. Now you can use the tab button on your keyboard to go back and forth between the two. All right. So an arrangement view here, this is where you can record. You can kind of see what's happening. You can layer tracks. You can create your live sets, all that type of stuff. You can do the same stuff in session view as well, but if you want to visibly see what's happening, arrangement view is the way to go. So real quick, run through everything. We got link here. We'll talk about that later. That's useful for something else that may not apply to most of you, but we'll kind of bypass that for now. We have tap tempo here at the top. We have our tempo information here. You can drag up or down. We have these two buttons here. I believe these two are to zoom into your tracks, but I'll verify that. You got your time signature here. You got your metronome here. If you click this, you can change the counting if you're recording, the sound, and then the rhythm. So I can go 16th notes, 8th notes, into anything. Auto is fourths. So we'll just go back to auto. Now here you can change the bar. Normally I wouldn't do this, but there are implications with this that we will talk about as we progress in the series. So if you want to know what this is, you'll see here in a second. In Live 12, which is what I'm running right now, they put the project information up here too. That's not in 10 and 11, at least here. But there's a way to get to it for sure. This follows your locator here. So if it were to move on in this direction, if this is on, it'll follow it. If it's off, it won't. That's useful for if you want to just look at something while this is playing. That way it doesn't change your whole screen and you miss what you're looking for. Play, stop, record. And then you got a few buttons here that are useful. And you can go into your settings here to mess around with these. I'm just going through the basic stuff. I'm not going to get super deep into stuff right now. We have your key function, which is super helpful because here you can actually create anything that's highlighted orange. You can assign to a key on your keyboard. Anything that pops up. All right. And then for MIDI, it's the same thing. Anything that's in blue, you can assign to your MIDI controller, your key on your keyboard, a pedal, whatever it is you want to do. All right. Here's your project rate, your samples. This right here is your CPU meter. So if it's going crazy, you'll see it. And then here, if you don't have any audio, it'll say off. And that way you'll know something's going on with your ins and outs. Here are your channels. In this case, we have two MIDI channels. And we have two audio channels. So here where the numbers are, this is how you turn your channel on or off. You have S for solo. You have your record options for MIDI and for audio. And then under audio, you have the 0. This is actually a bar that you can move. This is volume here. The C is panning, so you can pan things. And then you have 2 here. These are your sends. And I'll talk about that here when I go to session view. You have your input. You can do an external in, for example, like an interface or any other in that you have. This will be set up in the settings, which we'll get to in a second. And then you have in. So in this case, it's recording audio from wherever I have it set to. Auto, I think, doesn't do it in some cases, depending on what's happening. but most are set to auto to begin with. If you find that you're not getting audio, then switch it to in, and that'll solve the problem. And then off, of course, is off. And then down here's your outputs. So you have your main output or an external out. Like if you're running tracks and you want something to go to, 3 instead of 1 and 2, you can adjust that over here. But again, all that is set up in your settings. And then you have the name of your tracks here. So you can rename. You press Command R to rename. You can rename this whatever you want. Let's move that back. And these arrows here just open and close the track. So experiment with this stuff. Honestly, it's a lot of just having fun with it, trial and error stuff. You got your 2 sends here. You got a reverb send and a delay send. So these 2 negative infinities here will just send your channel to whatever you want. The first one is going to be A, second one is going to be B. You can have as many sends as you want. And now, as you see, when we click on reverb and delay, these pop up here. You can find these off to the left if you click this this expand button here, and then you have all sounds, drums, instruments. Your audio effects are here. So in order to pull something in, I have this compressor. You just press and hold, drag and drop, and that's it. This orange button is how you turn on or off, and then you have additional settings over here to the right. All right. To remove something, you can just backspace, and it'll call it a day. And then you can go through all of this stuff. There's a bunch of stuff in here. If you have an instrument like Keyscape or Omnisphere or something, you can also place that in here as well, and then run your tracks. All right, that's if you're in the MIDI section, obviously. And then down here, there's add folder, which is cool. So if you have libraries or packs or anything like that, you'll find them here. If you want to add a folder from your computer, like let's say you have a loops folder and you want easy access to it, you can just add the folder here. So now instead of going through Finder to try to find it, you just hit loops, boom, everything will be right here for you. All right. So a quick run through on arrangement view. Here's session view. Session view is, you'll find a lot of DJs use this. If you're just running loops or drones or whatever it is, you might use this a little bit more often. Same type of thing. You can, except this time, instead of seeing your clips, you can line your clips up in a row and adjust from there. Your sends are here. You can run, let's say you had a song and you wanted to run, let's say, keys here, bass here, guitars here, drums here. Instead of soloing each one individually, you can click play here to run the entire track. Everything on line 1 would start running. And if you double click in here, you can actually adjust tempo information that will pop up instead of having to use this. You can adjust it per track. Now, if you drag this main out, because it usually comes like this, if you drag it out in 10 or 11, you'll actually see the tempo information pop up. That's if you have standard or suite. If you have light, you're not going to see it. Once you adjust that tempo information, and 12 is down here at the bottom, you'll have to click play again, and then it'll reset to whatever you did, right? So right now it's at 157 point whatever. Let's say I want it to be 60 whatever, 65 that is. I hit play again, and then it adjusts to what my new tempo is. It'll adjust whatever's on that line. So that's how you change tempo. In session view, it's way easier. In arrangement view, it's a little different, but there's a shortcut for that. Watch for the video in this playlist that talks about that. And then let's see here. So we've done that. And then down here is your mixer. You got volume. You can send to sends here. Same thing with the number on and off, solo, record. This is your volume for your tracks. And then we have audio from, MIDI from, which is the same thing as what's your input. Audio to or MIDI to, which is the same thing as what's your output. And then you have the same thing for your reverb, delay, your sends, whatever they may be. And then you have Q out, main out, and then this headphone out, right? So Q out is, let's say you were using the Ableton metronome. You can actually send this metronome to one side or the other, depending on how you have your interface set up or your outs set up. If you want to do that, if you want to just use this, you can. And then you have your main out, obviously. And then this headphone out is for, it controls the Q out. So if you have the Ableton metronome running and you want to increase the volume of the metronome, that's going to be here with this headphone here. And then you can solo, you can pan, and volume. All right. So that's pretty much everything. You can go through here and do all kinds of really cool stuff. Now I'm going to show you guys the settings real fast. So if you go to live and then go to settings, again, if you're on 10 and 11, it's going to look different, but it looks virtually similar. Let's start with audio. So once you choose your interface that you want, you're going to go to input configuration and you're going to see all your inputs pop up. You're going to see mono inputs, stereo inputs. So if you want to have access to all your inputs, you're just going to click everything on. All right. If you know some are mono and you know some are stereo, you can mix and match. All right. So you can do this if you wanted to. But if you're, for some reason, if you go into your tracks and you're not seeing a certain input, come back in here. That's probably what's going on. Same thing for the outputs. If you have multiple outputs, you'll want to make sure that those are on as well. You can change your sample rate here for your project, buffer size, latency, and then you can go through some of these other ones. Again, play with this, have fun. You can change your zoom, right? For those who maybe can't see as far. Display options. You can change the theme and the colors, so you can make this literally whatever you want to, right? You can change the where is it? Yeah, you can make this light, you can make this dark. And then MIDI information here. So if you have like a MIDI pedal or whatever, or a MIDI keyboard, you can plug that in. It should pop up in here. And then there's stuff with the IAC driver that you'll see here, which we talk about in another video. It's in this playlist. So go ahead and take a look at that to see what you can do. That takes Ableton to a whole other level. All right. So check that out. File folders, library plugins. Again, just have fun with this stuff. Most of these settings you won't have to change. There won't ever really be a reason to. If there is stuff that you do have to change, I will talk about it in this particular series so that you guys know. To get rid of certain things here, they'll be at the bottom. Again, on 11, it'll look different. You have your info menu here. So this will, if you put something in here or whatever, this will describe. It's kind of like help. Like it'll tell you what you need. The last thing is on 12, you can actually pull up the mixer or session view from arrangement view, which if you are on 10 or 11, you know that this is a big deal. Okay. Instead of going back and forth the whole time, you can actually just see everything from your main stage. You can customize this however you want to as well. So it's a game changer. It's a game changer. You have this H and W here, which is height and width. Again, just play around with this stuff. It's truly a lot of fun. And there's a lot of customization that you can do. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So, this is your 101. This is your basics. This is your where is everything? How does it work? As we progress through the series, we're going to talk about some more ways to actually make it come alive, how to record, your sends, what you can really do with sends. If you run tracks, how you can run tracks effectively, et cetera, et cetera. So stay tuned, keep an eye out, and we'll get to everything. All right. Y'all take care. I'll see y'all in the next one. Peace.